Olá, sejam bem-vindos ao Papo Supren, um programa da TV Supren, veículo de comunicação da União Planetária. Hoje teremos uma bela entrevista com a nossa convidada Jayni Gudka, uma empreendedora social da Inglaterra que realiza um maravilhoso projeto, não somente na Inglaterra, mas em várias partes do mundo. Welcome, Jayni.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. Jayni is a social entrepreneur. She is the founder of Sama International, through which she works with survivors of homelessness, human trafficking, modern slavery, as well as refugees and other marginalized communities to help them heal and lead there on walking tours. Jayni also serves as a CEO at Unseen Tours, a multi-award-winning social enterprise that provides opportunities for people affected by homelessness to heal and lead walking tours of London. Jayni has a bachelor's degree in study of religion from SOAS, the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, and 2 master's degrees. The first in Asian politics, again from SOAS, and the second in responsible tourism management from Leeds Beckett University. Jayni, yesterday we have a wonderful talk about Maitri Bhavana, universal friendship, and seva, service to all beings, and how it influences the work of Sama International. You did this talk under the auspicious Jain Festival of Forgiveness, Paryushan Pava. I would like to talk more about those topics developed yesterday, and at the end, I would like you to tell people how to join your movement, how to help, how to donate, and how to participate in your project as a whole. Can we start by telling our public what is Maitri Bhavana?
Thank you. So Maitri Bhavana is universal friendship. So it's friendship to all living souls, humans, animals, any living being. Doesn't matter their race, religion, social status, anything. Just having equality and friendship with all beings.
Mm-hmm. And how about the concept of seva?
Seva is an interesting one. It means service to other beings as well, but in a really selfless way. So without having any ego attached to that or any thoughts about what you may gain from serving other people. It's very selfless in the way that it's done.
Yeah. By reading your website, we can see the emphasis in the term togetherness, which is the literal translation of Sama. When you choose the name Sama, what you are trying to put together in the social world where you develop your project?
So Sama is an Indonesian word.
Okay.
It means togetherness, and it has some other meanings also.
Okay.
But the main one is togetherness, bringing people together to create something beautiful together, like community. And the reason I chose that word is because the first job I did after university was in Indonesia. So I fell in love with the country. It's such a beautiful country with beautiful people. And so I really wanted to bring that essence of what I felt when I was working there on peace building projects, essentially, and bring that into the work that I want to do now with these community-based tours that we're trying to run. So there are 4 main parts of Sama for me. One is seva, so that's selfless service to other people. Then A for ahimsa, which is a really important principle in the Jain philosophy of non-violence. Non-violence is not just in a passive way, but an active way. So if you see something that's being done that's wrong and you disagree with, that's violating other people's rights, then you do something to help protect those rights and stand up for those rights as well. M is for Maitri, which we spoke about already, about universal friendship. So having friendship to all living beings, all human beings, no matter the difficulties and challenges that they are facing. and the last one is anekantwad. And that is recognizing many different perspectives and knowing that there are many sides to truth and honoring your ability to have your own belief whilst I can retain my own. So having peace and harmony and tolerance for all different viewpoints and protecting those viewpoints in the world also.
Yeah, perfect. Yesterday, during your talk you developed about these subjects, I could feel from the audience, they got really interested on the topic, and from one way or another, I could realize they never had this kind of approach of interpretation of selflessness, because selflessness is something that could be in different contexts have a different meaning, although the essence is the same for every human being. I saw as well people are very interested in participating in this kind of projects. But first, before going into this on how the public or the people can participate in your project, I have one question. How you find out about Planetary Union, and how you find out about Ulysses in his history? What got interested? What touched you before you try to understand what kind of work we also do, which is similar to yours?
I think it's just the essence and the depth with which he believed, and you all believe in non-violence and ahimsa.
Yes.
In fact, the first time I met him, he was so happy. Like he said, even his soul is Jain as well,
Yes.
because he believes in so many of the principles, which are universal principles, which so many religions, faiths, people from all around the world believe in those same principles. So I think it was that initially made me even more eager to learn more about the movement, about the philosophy, about the teachings, and your vision for educating people about peace and the science of peace, which is so similar to what we're trying to do, but in a different way. So I think that, and just having the essence of nonviolence in everything that he does, from his diet, the way that he works in the various jobs that he's done in the legal field, for example, and just his vision for a more peaceful, harmonious world.
Yes. So you and Ulysses have something in common. You were natural born vegetarians. And you also are Jain.
Yes.
You have a Jain faith. Your family comes from the Jain background as well. Could you talk about a little more about this, because I think it's very important. Because in order to be vegetarian, vegan, it's important to have a strong, usually people who has vegan philosophy and vegetarian philosophy has a strong philosophical background which allow them to sustain this point of view. Could you elaborate a little more about this? How the influence that Jain faith in the Indian thought as a whole has on you about veganism?
Sure. So I was lucky to be born in a Jain family and have been vegetarian since birth, so with so many generations of my family. So that was a great starting point for me, for sure. When I was about 17 years old, I met a great teacher in the Jain faith, and his name was Chitra Bhanuji. He came from India. He used to be a monk also for the Jain faith. And one of the main messages he's been sharing with the world is about veganism, and it's linked to non-violence. Before then, I wasn't really aware of the violence in the dairy industry, for example. But having spoken to him, and also really being in the presence of his maitri as well, of his calm, patient way of sharing this message about universal friendship, really made me more interested in learning more about the violence in the dairy industry. And I actually made a bet with my mum at that time. She thought that I didn't have the strong willpower to become vegan, and I wanted to prove her wrong. So that's how my journey started into veganism. I had to prove her wrong. I had to make sure that I was able to continue with the non-violence that I wanted to live in my life. And it's been since then, basically. I've had this good fortune of being vegan.
When you found this Jayni master, you were in England or in India? Or he was in England?
He came to England, so there was a big temple opening, and he came to that with his wife, Brahmodaji. And so it was in fact speaking with her and Chitrabhanuji that really made me understand more about the link between violence and the dairy industry. And because non-violence is such an important tenet of the Jain faith, meaning that even our monks, when they are walking, they sweep the floor before they walk, in case they step on an ant and kill it, for example, or they cover their mouth with a cloth to protect any bacteria or any living beings in the air from the particles when they speak, for example. That's how deep we talk about non-violence in the Jain faith. And it just made sense to try this as a result.
This is very interesting. I would like to continue on this subject on the second part. Agora, vamos fazer um pequeno intervalo e vamos continuar com esse interessante ponto da entrevista na segunda parte. Até daqui a pouco. Olá, sejam bem-vindos à segunda parte de nossa entrevista aqui no Papo Supren com Jayni Gudka. Nós estávamos falando da influência que o mestre jainista Chitrabhanuji teve na sua decisão de se tornar vegana. Jayni, in the first part, we are talking, you mentioned a Jain master called Chitrabhanuji, in his influence over you to make a resolution become vegan. Can you explore a little more about that?
Sure. So I think his message was given with so much love and peace, rather than something very hard and strict. So I think having that perspective of someone who has so much compassion for the world and all the beings, and Brahmodaji had the same compassion for all living beings, is what really encouraged me to give up dairy from my life. It makes sense with Jainism and its principles of non-violence, that we want to minimize as much violence as possible. So it seemed like an easy decision at the time. And yeah, I'm really grateful to have met him at that important stage in my life and made that change.
Yes. Besides his influence on veganism over you, does he has spiritual influence regarding practice and daily practice? Can you talk about this a little bit?
Sure. I think one of the most famous things that Chitrabhanuji is known for is a really beautiful religious song about universal friendship, which almost every Jain will be able to recite off by heart.
Maitri?
Yeah, so it's just about Maitri, exactly. He talks about Maitri and some other Jain concepts as well. It's a really beautiful song, just about how one can lead a more peaceful life. One can really help other people when they are perhaps straying on the wrong path, and how working on something together can really make the beautiful changes we want to see happening in the world for peace and harmony.
Oh, that's very interesting. I'm thinking about adopting some Jain principles in my own life, because I feel that amongst the many schools of thought who try to express ahimsa principle, there's many ways to teach and to learn ahimsa. Jain is one of the most, let's say, sophisticated. I think Jain went a little bit farther than other schools on this subject of ahimsa. Now, I would like to make a bridge. How these principles, how the influence of these masters had on you. You already thought about your family, your background, the family background also is what is crucial for the person you are today and the work you do today. Now, I would like to learn more about your work in London. Could you tell us, try to describe what you do in London and the impact you have on these communities?
Sure. So in London, I help run an organisation called Unseen Tours. It's a tour company based in London, And it started by accident, really. We had some volunteers going out with socks, with coffees, handing them out to people rough sleeping on the streets of London. And we had conversations with these people every day. And we realised by doing that these people had fantastic stories of their own experiences, but also because they were sleeping on the streets of London, they knew the stories of London and the hidden streets better than anyone else did. So we wanted to see if we could turn that experience into a walking tour of London, to share their experience, the unique perspectives of London, and also the more hidden history of London as well, and have customers come on these tours to understand more about homelessness in the same process. And that was 14 years ago now, and we've been working since then. We've trained 27 people to create their own walking tours of London, and the tours give them a way to earn money in a really responsible way, to help them retain a livelihood outside of homeless so they don't end up homeless again. And more recently, we've also been working with survivors of human trafficking, modern slavery, helping them to create their own tours. So we don't give them a set script or anything like that, but we work with them to have their own stories put into the tours as well. So for example, Halimot, who we've been working with more recently in London, she's a survivor of human trafficking. She was trafficked when she was only 8 years old. So she didn't have those educational opportunities that so many of us have.
Is the woman from Gambia?
From Nigeria.
From Nigeria?
Yeah.
I saw her.
Yeah. So she's an incredible woman, and she's achieved so much in her life despite having experienced human trafficking at such a young age. And so working with her to share her story so that other people can understand what it means to be trafficked, what it means to escape from a trafficker, how they can support other people like that, but also see London from her eyes as well, which is a unique way of seeing the city.
Yes, it's a beautiful way to raise awareness of this population, which is a kind of invisible for the tourists as a whole. If you would have to synthesize the lessons you have learned in the last 14 years, how you gonna put into a single sentence, if it is possible?
I think it's just people really make a place. Without the people from a community, you can never really get to know a place if you're visiting. So if you meet people who are local to that area, and if you hear their stories and their perspectives, that is the best way to know any place that you visit. And that's what we are trying to do with Unseen Tours, by amplifying their stories, their voices, to show what it means to really live in London, and not the kind of paintbrush version that the media want to show, for example. Like during the Olympics, for example, people who were homeless were moved from London because when the world is watching, no one wants to see homelessness in a big stage. The same happened in Rio when the Olympics came here, same in Paris. But we think that this is a problem because these people have the most beautiful ways of showing what a place is like. And their unique perspective really makes the city what it is today. And so by having their stories, it really shows the city in the best possible way. And it helps solve the issues of homelessness also. Yeah.
Recently, we saw some movements against immigrants in UK. How do you interpret the root cause of all of this? We heard here in Brazil and all over the media and social media that the immigrants were very scared because up to that point things were kind of normal, although the problems always have existed in every place, including England, one of the most rich countries on the planet. But after this event, things turn around a little bit. Can you comment on this? How do you interpret the root cause of this, and how the people assisted by your community saw this phenomenon?
I think it affected our communities a lot, especially because we work with some refugees, some asylum seekers, and they were targeted quite a lot by these riots.
They were targeted, right?
So it was a very scary time for a lot of migrants also. There are many reasons why these things happened. But I think one of the main things it taught us is that we need to know our neighbours, we need to really understand our neighbours. If someone seems distant to us, then it's easier for us to other them meaning you are not the same as me, so I will always have something against you. But if I get to know you better, then you become part of my community, and it helps us to work together to stop riots like this happening. If you are the same as me, then why would I be punishing myself? That is the issue, I think.
Yeah, this is the reason why the philosophical view of the world from Jayni is important, because until you find out that we are all one, these things could keep happening indefinitely in the future. Now, how come you had this? First, we made the bridge from your Jayni background family to the encounter of Chitra Banerjee, your work in England. How you end up in Brazil? How the Casa Rosa project started?
So a very good friend of mine, his name is Gustavo Pinto. He's from Brasilia, and he really liked the work that we're doing in London. Did some research about this also when he was studying many years ago. And he really wanted to bring the project we are doing in the UK to Brazil. And so we've been working together for 6-7 years, I think at least, trying to find a way to bring this work to Brazil. And from his perspective, the trans community in Brazil faced so much violence and discrimination that was a really important community to work with at the start. So we started working with them. We received a little bit of funding from the Conscious Travel Foundation to begin this project. And now we're working with Casa Rosa to work with the trans women there to train them up to be tour guides, to help them into other forms of employment that gives them a lot more respect, and it allows them to do work on their own terms in a way that gives them the respect and dignity that they deserve. So that is what we're trying to do now. We've got a little bit of funding from the Conscious Travel Foundation to get started, and we're looking for more funds so that we can make sure we can pay the tour guides during the training process, so that we can continue this work and work with other marginalized communities in the future also.
Perfect. Now, to wrap it up, our beautiful conversation, I would like to stay here forever talking about this, not only because of the importance, but of the need of these people. How can people join your project and help in your project?
We'd love for people to get in touch with us. Our website is www.samasamainternational.org, and I'm sure you can share that link also. We're on Instagram and LinkedIn. But please do get in touch if there's any way that you can support our work. And if you're in London also, we'd love to have you join our tours in London. And very soon we'll have these tours in Brasilia too, so please do support us when this tour is up and running as well. Thank you.
Jayni, thank you very much for your kindness.
Thank you.
Bom, assim terminamos nossa entrevista com Jayni Gudka. Nosso canal na net é o canal 2. Estamos também na Sky. E para o público nacional e internacional, estamos no canal Supren, no YouTube. Muito obrigado e até a próxima.